of Chi Yoga. Before we go any farther, please like and subscribe to help spread this channel far and wide. It'll help. Today I want to do a short and sweet low back exercise / stretch class. So shooting for about 10 minutes, and we'll be doing not just stretching but a little bit of exercise as well, just to get the lengthening through the fascia line so that we can get those stretches in place and have them last longer than if we were just holding a stretch. So little exercise, little warm up, stretch, you'll feel great afterward. Okay, let's first bring it into quadruped. You're spreading the fingertips wide away from each other. The shoulders, wrists are in one line, and then the knees and hips are in one line. You're going to tuck your toes underneath and just push weight back into the toes. Then you can kind of draw the hips right to left. You can pull the shoulders along with you, get a stretch through the side body. And then shifting back forward, untuck the toes, and finding cat-cow spine. So cat-cow is just opening up through the chest, pulling the tailbone towards the back of the head. And then exhaling as you pull the ribs in and up and bring the chin down towards the pubic bone. Inhale as you lift and open, keep the arms nice and long. And exhale as you pull it in and round. 3 more with your breathing. Inhale as you lift. Exhale as you round. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. Let's go for one more. This time you're inhaling to lift and open. And then when you exhale to close, you're going to hold your exhale, hold your round, and just shift the ribs right to left. So you're holding that exhale, you're squeezing everything out, you're getting a massage in the internal organs, you're moving through the rib cage, and then come back to a neutral spine. So this one's a little bit funny, but it's really good for the low spine, the QL muscles. You're taking the sitting bones in a figure 8. So if you can see my hips, they're making this figure 8 shape from the right to the left and then back again. So I want to extend from the base of the rib cage all the way down to the tailbone, all that QL muscle, all the psoas in the front of the body, just extending and contracting right to left. So try to keep the shoulders squared and still. And make sure you're not arching or rounding here, but you're working from a neutral spine. So I have a nice flat back, and then I work in my figure 8. Let's go one more. And then we're going to work the knees wider, toes together, and sink the hips back into a child's pose. So if you're way far forward, you want to draw the bottom down to the heels. Sink the hips down heavy, sink the shoulders, the armpits. You can bring the forehead to the mat if you'd like. I'm just going to keep my gaze forward. But staying soft in the hips and soft in the shoulders. Take a few breaths here on the exhale as you get the rib cage even closer to the mat. And then we're going to push into the tops of the feet, come back forward to quadruped, lift the knees, pull them together, and micro bend the elbows as you lift up into a cobra. So I'm trying to get my shoulder and my wrist in one line, which means I have to lift and open the heart using the back muscles. So my glutes are a little bit active, my legs are nice and long. Now I can breathe into the front body. If the shoulders are way up here, draw the shoulders back and away, create lots of space. And now exhale, bend the elbows until you come all the way down to the mat. Ooh, my mat's a little bit cold. Bring the hands underneath the chin, and you're just working toes to butt. Lift and extend. This is really good for the low back. So this is a little bit of that exercise modality so we can go deeper into our fascia with our stretching. So lift and extend. Think about pulling the toes away from the hip line. Let's do a couple more. And now you're going to extend the arms forward in front of you, and you're going to go left hand, right foot, right hand, left foot. So I'm bringing my left arm up, I'm extending my right leg out of the way, and then right hand up, left hand, right hand up, left foot, extending out of the way. Do it right to left a few times. And now gaze towards the palm that is lifting. So my right palm lifts, I gaze right, my left palm lifts, I gaze left. One more each side. Excellent. And then bringing it back into a child's pose. So the toes are together, the knees are wide, and I'm going to sink my weight one more time. We're going to move with our breath, and we're working vertebrae by vertebrae. So you can see me stretching out my fingers, stretching out my arms. I'm pulling my hips in. I'm working vertebrae by vertebrae up through the thoracic cage, up through the chest, all the way through the cervical spine. The gaze goes up. And then I'm going to pull the chin down, move into the upper back, move through the thoracic cage, all the way down the spine to the tailbone. So So take a few movements front to back with your breath. You inhale, coming forward, vertebrae by vertebrae, looking for length and mobility on the spine. And then exhale, bring it all the way back down to child's pose. Remember, we're even incorporating the gaze because our spine goes all the way up and connects with the head, connects with the gaze. Last one. And now from child's pose, you'll tuck the toes under, shift the hips back, and walk it out in downward facing dog. So you want to get a low back release when we're here in down dog. So we're going to lengthen the tailbone back, tuck the ribs in, and pull the heels down as much as we can to the mat. You can take a few pulses up through the calf muscles. And then actively drive the heels down, lift into the core, and find more space along the spine. Take a few breaths here. On the next exhale, we'll bend the knees, walk the hands back to the feet. And then all four corners of the feet are planted. You take opposite elbow. And I like to do just these little half rolls. I'm just lifting through my core, rolling through the spine, and then releasing back down into a fold. So as much mobility again as we can get through the spine, through the vertebrae. Last one, exhale, go into a full fold, lengthen the legs, bring the thigh and the belly close together. You can sway the upper body, relax through the head. And then we'll micro bend the knees, fingertips plant, inhale, flat back one more time. Exhale, this time we're gonna bind, take the hands behind the legs, lengthen the sits bones up, and pull the thigh close to the belly. So when you're working in these forward folds, I'm going to switch my angle a little bit. If you're very tight in the low back and in the back body and in the glutes and hamstrings, you'll be very rounded in your fold. But we're trying to get rid of that rounding. So watch for my round as I lengthen the spine. And now I'm going to use my lat muscles, my back muscles, and my core muscles to bring everything closer together in a straight line. So this isn't a very passive pose. I'm very active in pulling my chest to my thigh and pulling my navel to spine to create more length. And then bend the knees, release. Let's bring it back down onto the mat. We will cross the ankles and go to seated. Couple more. Let's do a little twist for the low body, and then we'll move on to some movements on the back. So I have my left knee in line with the left hip, and my heel is tucked towards my butt. Now my right foot is coming across, and I want to make sure that the right toes can stay down on the mat. So I like to put my hand there to just hold. Now this hip, this right hip, is also meeting the mat. So I have planted hip, planted foot. You can hold and lift up tall here. You can bring the knee closer to the chest. You can work the foot back towards the hip. And now from here, you're going to keep really tall through the spine, but just bring the forehead down. So notice I'm not releasing and rounding. I'm staying really tall. And then I bring the forehead down. Hopefully you feel a stretch all along the outside of the right hip. So everything comes to midline, sink the forehead, take a few breaths. Check in with those right toes, keep the right toes down. Keep softening through the shoulders, don't let the shoulders creep up to the ears. And then our left hand is going to stay wrapped around the right leg. And our right hand is going to reach back and away so we can go into a little twist here. So when you're twisting, come from the core, squeeze the abdominal muscles, and then take the gaze past the right shoulder as well. Exhaling to release, come back through center. Your right arm hooks under the right leg, and the left hand is going to hook to the foot. Now you can just move around, find some mobility on the hip. If you are more flexible, you can take the foot into the elbow crease, and now you drive the chest up and the shin towards the chest. So I feel a nice big stretch along the outside of the right hip. And all that's connected into the low back muscles. Our hips are really tight, our groin is really tight. It can really pull on our low back muscles. So basically you can stretch anything to make everything feel better. And then releasing down. Take the right leg out, give it a little shake. Use your hands, shake it around, release the leg muscles. And then we'll go into the opposite side. So right knee in line with the right hip, and the left foot goes out to the side. So I want to get the foot down, and I want to pull the opposite, or the same side hip down. I want to pull the left hip down. So same thing, you can start working the heel back towards the hip. You can pull the knee towards the chest. Sit up nice and tall on your sitting bones. Remember to keep the foot down and that hip down. And then if you want to start rounding into the upper, into the cervical spine, we're just bringing the forehead down. Don't round into the back. It's just an exhale, forehead to shin or forehead to knee. And then you can hold and breathe. Notice if you feel some rounding in the low spine, try to lift up a little bit taller. Let's take one more breath here. And exhale, keep the right hand bound to the leg. Open up the left palm. Remember, you're twisting from the core, so I have my abs engaged to twist deeper, and the gaze is going over the left shoulder. Each time you exhale, you're going a little deeper into your twist. And then releasing back through center. Now the left arm hooks under the foot, right hand hooks the foot. Kind of shake up the hip here. If you want to go one step farther, it's the elbow crease of the foot. You lift up nice and tall, and then pull the shin towards the chest. Keep lifting up tall through the chest. So again, I'm not rounding. I'm trying to lift and lengthen, and then compress the leg in. Keep a little energy in the foot. The foot needs to be flexed. If you feel some pressure on your knee on this one, just flex the foot a little bit harder. It'll protect the knee joint for you. And then releasing it down. So now let's take it onto the back to finish up. So from the back, my mat is so cold. Legs up in the air. And a lot of times if you have a really tight low back hip area, your butt is going to be lifted up like this. So you're trying to pull the hips down to unroll the low spine to the mat. So keep the low spine flat. You might have to pull navel to spine to help you stay there. And then the heels are straight up in line with the hip. So I have some pressure down on my sacrum, but my hips can release here. Let's take hands to belly, take 3 deep belly breaths. That means you're traveling with the breath all the way into the belly. You're not just breathing into the chest. That breath is going all the way down to the belly. Softening through the hip flexors. One more breath. And then we're going to pull the left heel above the right knee, bend the right knee, and bring the right knee to the chest. So now my tailbone is coming up off the floor. So what you want to check in with is making sure that your feet are flexed to protect the knees. And you are then going to pull the tailbone down and release it back up to the top. Pull it down, like I said before, unrolling the low spine and releasing. Let's go one more, pull it down and release. And now keep the hips and the tailbone on the mat. Try to breathe there. And use this left elbow. I might have to switch directions. So I'm keeping my tailbone down. I'm going to use my left elbow to push the knee open. So now I get a nice stretch in that low back area on the left side. If your butt is popping up, pull it down. Let's take one more breath here. And then we'll release the legs over towards the right side for a spiral twist. So both the legs can just be really heavy. And now you want to melt the opposite side shoulder and rib cage back to the mat. I like to take a few big circles, kind of unrolls the rib cage for you. And then you're landing in your twist, you're gazing towards your open palm, you're exhaling that shoulder and the rib cage back down to the mat. Stay nice and soft. Make sure the belly muscles are nice and soft. The hips are nice and soft. And then gently coming back through center. I'm going to rotate my direction one more time. Then you're going right foot above the left knee. Both feet are flexed. You bind to the left leg and pull it to the chest. Now my butt is coming off the mat. I'm going to work the hips down. And then release it, pull it in. Unroll the low spine, work the hips down. Keep energy in the feet. Pull it in. Let's do one more. Unroll. Pull it in. And now you're keeping the hips down. You're using this outside elbow, my right elbow to my right knee, to open up that right side hip joint. I'm still also pulling the knee in towards the chest. I'm just not pulling it in enough to make the butt come up off the mat.
And then releasing spinal twist, and now both legs are going towards the left. I have a twist in my low body. I'm going to take some big sweeping circles with the top arm and right arm. And then I'm landing with the palm open. I'm reaching, opening and relaxing through the rib cage and the shoulder. I'm using those exhales to melt everything down and just relax into your twist. This is really good for the low spine. You take the breath right into the low back here, releasing the sacrum. And then before we fall asleep, let's bring it back to center. 2 more poses here. So I'm going to stay on my back, bring the feet together in a Baddha Konasana, a butterfly position. So my feet are together, my knees are wide. And now take your hands to your belly and just give it a little belly massage, because you want to make sure that the ab muscles aren't holding here. You want to keep the ab muscles really soft. Now the wrists are facing toward each other, and I place the wrists right at the hip line. And on the exhale, I lock my arms out. And I'm basically trying to stretch and expand through the spine as much as possible. So keep the belly muscles soft. You typically get some cracks and some pops here. Remember, wrists are facing the hips. You exhale, lock the arms out, and then you can get some nice stretch through the entire spine. Ooh, I got a lot of cracks out. You can give a little shake, just rocking the hips right to left, keeping the pressure down on the hips. It's like you're pulling the hips away from the spine, the base of the spine. And then gently release the pressure, let the hips adjust back. And the last one will be supported bridge. If you have a yoga block, this is a great time to use your yoga block. If not, you just put your feet down, you bring the hips up, and you walk the hands underneath the hip line. Now the elbows are underneath my hands, and I'm going to release the weight of my hips into my palms and pull the palms down toward the heels. So I just got another crack. My sacrum gets popped out really easily. This is a really good one to readjust the sacrum. So I'm just going to continue to pull the hands toward the heels, continue to breathe, and to relax into this posture. When you're ready to come out of it, push into the feet, find your glute muscles, then you can gently release the hands and roll down vertebrae by vertebrae. Beautiful. Bring the knees into the chest. Any kind of moving or rolling around you can do. You can let your spine go into a natural arch, get a little massage all across the sacrum. And then if you have time to take a Shavasana, this is a really good video to do right before bedtime, because then you can just lay down and fall asleep and your spine will be nice and adjusted. But if you're not going to bed, just take a few breaths lying there, letting everything kind of adjust and fall back into place. Don't just go straight into some heavy movement. Let the spine be for a moment. Okay, like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you next time.